Hey, I knew I needed Class 1A back in my life, but I didn't realize just how much I was missing Mount Lady. This is fantastic that she's back. Could you, teach me how to be on camera? Nah, I'm just kidding. I'm a YouTuber. I don't need that. What's up, ladies and gentlemen, it's Truth Hero, and welcome back to another My Hero Academia Chapter review. Boku no Hero Academia Chapter 241 in the manga. Finally, we have a new arc, and it looks like one that will involve internships for our young heroes. So let's dive in and talk about these internships, this media training, as well as touch upon Deika City and All Might's legacy. Yeah, that's right. First off, I love the cover page of this new chapter and arc. We have Deku putting up the text for hero and Bakugo taking down the word villain. Very cool. But this chapter is very long, so we're going to break it down into parts, and the first thing I want to talk about is Deika City. Now, it's important to touch upon this because something that happened with Deika City and that we're seeing in the news, I believe is going to set the tone for the rest of this arc. I don't think this is just going to be some normal internship arc and then it's going to flash back to a more serious one. I think it's going to start out lighthearted because we definitely need it after the last arc, but then it's going to get a little darker. In the news report about Deika City, it said that these 20 criminals, or as we know them, the League of Villains versus the Liberation Army, only took 50 minutes to do this much damage, and it was more damage than the Camino Ward incident. This tells me that Shigaraki is already more powerful than All For One and All Might. Maybe not in both of their primes, but he's still basically a teenager and he can crumble an entire city with just his quirk. I honestly don't see another villain becoming more powerful than him or even on his level, and I don't see how the heroes can confront him. The citizens of Deika City are saying that we need to seriously look at quirk regulation and not to blame heroes, and we'll try to do the best that we can as well. And that guy who's a hero expert, which by the way, what an awesome job, says that society is now at a tipping point. Having this tipping point in society and saying that we shouldn't blame heroes but rather encourage the ones that we do have and saying we'll try harder as citizens certainly opens up the case for quirk regulation, and if private citizens should be allowed to use their quirks to defend themselves just as heroes defend others. If we see another villain attack down the line, even if it's not in this arc, society's belief in heroes is just going to shift and they're not going to be confident at all. And we're going to see talks of quirk legalization across the board no matter what the situation is. People are fed up. This is also exactly what the Liberation Army wanted, and thanks to Skeptic's video doctoring and editing skills, it's exactly what the public saw. They're now more scared of villains than ever, and they're none the wiser to who it actually was that did this attack. They don't know about the League of Villains, they don't know about the Liberation Army or the new organization that formed. All they know is they're terrified and heroes can't always save the day. It's in their hands. Moving on to the media training in this chapter, I love how Bakugo just still has no chill. Even in interviews he can't contain himself. And I love when Mineta calls out Mount Lady for being tainted by showbiz, and she slaps his hand away. Sorry, Grape Juice, you ain't ever gonna touch that. But, Shoto might. Todoroki's almost too serious for interviews. Like, if I smile, ladies will die? Come on, actually, have you seen the fandom? But for real, Mount Lady got the hots for Shoto. She's complimenting him on his looks and his cute personality and thinks to herself, he's so cute. I want him. Hell no. Get away from Momo's man. I don't know about you guys, but she's also like 24, so I don't know who would want this. Maybe Mineta, but still, just imagine if it was flipped. Imagine if Aizawa was kinda hitting on a Shiketsu student like Kami. But, double standards, though. But despite this, what Mountain Lady says is actually really important. It's time for the world to know the future generation of heroes and these UA students. However, practicing these hero personas for the camera tells me two things about the current state of hero society. One, it's of course a nice gesture and something that heroes should actually learn. People should be able to look up to heroes and be put at ease. And unlike Bakugo, heroes should definitely get along with all of humanity. But two, it shows just how desperate the world is for heroes, and how insecure it feels in response to these villain attacks, and really, how truly unstable the balance of power has become. Each Class 1A student shows off a move in front of the camera, and my question for all of you is, should the heroes be doing this? Now, someone like Ejiro Kirishima who says, "Those behind me will be safe," that's dope, and to me, that's honestly the best on-camera hero presence out of all the students. No one's getting through that wall. Everyone's reassured. But to villains, that's not much of a surprise. All Kirishima does is use his hardening quirk and get hard. Really hard. But should other heroes show off their moves? I know they'll eventually be known by their super moves, but it seems like right now they're just giving villains and criminals unnecessary secrets and tricks to the trade. Shigaraki can just sit back and study the next generation of his opponents. I mean, not that he needs to. He can destroy a city in about half an hour, but you get the idea. All the other villains lurking in the shadows can now assess their opponents and find ways to counter their abilities. I can think of someone who should never do an interview. Shinso. What would it be like? "Oh, hi, my name is Shinso and I brainwash people when they talk to me." Every villain would just be like, at least he's studying under Aizawa so he knows to avoid the press. But seriously, I want to ask you guys, should the heroes be flaunting their quirks in front of the camera? Comment below. Perhaps the most important thing about this chapter is the end where the principal tells All Might, yes, the students will be doing more internships. And considering that they're going on this winter break in a few days, I think that's when it'll take place, and we'll see it in this arc. But I'm really wondering if the students will go back to the same people. I'm sure Mineta would love to go back to Mount Lady, and I'm game. But what about people like Bakugo? Or what about Tokoyami? Will he go back to interning with Hawks? People desperately want to know what happened between Hawks and Best Jeanist, and this could be a really creative way to find out. If the students are with the same people, Tokoyami might grow suspicious of Hawks during this next internship, and we could get some more clues about this. Also, if it is the same people, Bakugo won't even have a pro hero to intern with since Best Jeanist is dead, or at least as far as we know. So this alone tells me that it's actually going to be different people this time around. And that being said, I hope Bakugo gets a really cool hero that he can train with and someone that he gets along with, or at least doesn't hate 100%. I also think that Tokoyami could intern with Edgeshot. I think they'd be a really cool match. They're both secretive, and I think they could understand each other. Lastly, who would Deku intern with? Last time it was with Gran Torino, but he's one in a handful of heroes who actually knows the truth about the One for All quirk. So, in order for Deku to succeed and really learn from this internship, it might help if he actually interns with a hero who knows the full details of this. It'd probably be cool if he interned with Aizawa. Let me know what you guys think. Comment your intern pairings below. The last thing here is Deku's adorable camera shyness, and of course him trying to unlock Black Whip and the other quirks contained within One for All. And this is where a pro hero and an internship with them could actually help him unlock it. It's also where All Might could come into play. Thanks for watching. If you're leaving, plus ultra to you. But if not, join me for a discussion on All Might's legacy, and how the notes he's currently leaving for Deku could be his last words of wisdom. All Might, more like all night. I think it's really endearing that All Might is staying up late at night to record all this stuff and all this information about the quirk One for All in these Campos notebooks for Deku. And this is where we'll start our discussion on All Might's legacy. So, he's writing down all this information on the quirk One for All for his star student Deku, and this is great to see because Deku can use this to do anything with the quirk. Now, even though All Might didn't have access to the other quirks of the previous users of One for All, like Deku does, he's still a hero, or he was the greatest hero, and that wisdom cannot be ignored. So I hope Deku can look back on this notebook and use it as a reference, not only for, the basic principles of the quirk One for All and, how to move your body, how to do kicks, how to punch, but also as a way to sort of flush out the vestiges and the predecessors of One for All. As we know, the quirks of One for All are triggered by memory, so maybe All Might can write down some things that Deku and him have shared, and this can allow Deku to read it, look back on it later, and then trigger those emotions. What if All Might talks about when they were training at the beach, and to do this with the quirk, and Deku will remember that, and he'll be very grateful, and then he'll trigger some emotion and talk to another previous user. Or Deku will remember what All Might said at the end of the fight between him and All for One, and Deku will have another emotion, and he'll unlock another quirk. So this notebook, really for Deku, could be the golden key to unlocking all the quirks, including how to use Black Whip really functionally. Now, the other thing is, while this is really endearing that All Might's putting all these records down in all these Campos notebooks or whatever, it's also a sign of the end. Because this is starting, All Might is writing, and he's finally becoming the teacher character, and I think that's great. Because he didn't really excel at being a teacher, but now he can be an excellent tutor towards Deku to help him along in the future. But you have to wonder, why is this starting now? It's right after the villain arc. It's right after Shigaraki succeeded all for one, gained all this power, unlocked his quirk to its full potential, which means Deku should probably do the same, and All Might's trying to help him do the same, and Shigaraki has all these resources. What do you think Shigaraki's gonna do? What's his next big move to say, hey world, I'm here, I'm your ruler, I'm the villain king? Well, it's obvious. He's gonna go after All Might. He's gonna kill the symbol of peace and flip the balance of hero society. And this will test Deku, obviously, because he'll lose All Might, and he'll be heartbroken, and everyone will cry and be sad. But there's also the case that these notebooks will survive, and Deku will always have a way to communicate with All Might through his writing and through his memories. And really, when Deku looks back on these memories and even talks to the predecessors, that's the key word, predecessor. All Might will die. It's not a question of, it is a question of when. It's not a question of if. It's going to happen. So it's when. So Deku gets to look back not only on All Might's writing and his teaching as a hero, but also he'll soon have the memories of Toshinori stored within the One for All quirk. And maybe right now what All Might is writing in those notebooks will actually help Deku sort of communicate it with him when he's gone. Or at the very least, remember him. I mean, how could you forget? But anyway, as always guys, thanks for watching. Comment below, should the heroes be flaunting their flashy moves in front of the camera? What are your internship pairings? And as All Might begins his writing, is this the sort of the beginning of the end of his life and the start of his legacy? As always guys, I appreciate your viewership, and if you like My Hero Academia content and these manga reviews, consider enrolling at UA today by clicking the subscribe button down below. And until next time, legacy or no legacy, plus ultra.